Jesus actually ate with tax collectors and sinners. Now, in our Western setting, of course, we don't generally get the full impact of what that means. We think, oh, well, that's a sort of, could be a social grace, in certain respects permissible. But as one scholar well said, he makes a statement on the significance of Jesus eating with such kind of people. To understand what Jesus was doing in eating with sinners, it is important to realise that in the East, even today, to invite a man to a meal was an honour. It was an offer of peace, trust, brotherhood and forgiveness. In short, sharing a table meant sharing life. In Judaism in particular, table fellowship means fellowship before God. For the eating of a piece of broken bread by anyone who shares in the meal brings out the fact that they all have a share in the blessing which the master of the house had spoken over the unbroken bread. So, in the setting of the East, and in Jesus' day, when people ate together, they were saying, we forgive one another, we accept one another, there are no barriers between us, and together we have fellowship before God and share in the one life of fellowship. Jesus eating with them shows that he has already accepted them, he has already forgiven them. There are no barriers between he and those sinners with which he eats. According to the law, yes, the law of the Old Testament, it was even unlawful to eat with such people. Jesus was clearly breaking the law. But we press it further than that. Why did Jesus eat? These were not just ordinary meals, these were banquets. Now why banquets? Because Jesus came announcing the reign of God. And the reign of God is accompanied by God's great end-time salvation. And according to the prophets of the Old Testament, when the reign of God arrives with his end-time salvation, there would be a great party in Israel. There would be unheard of celebration. As Isaiah says in one place, why, it'll be so great, the time is coming when the Lord will make a great banquet. He himself will provide the banquet. It'll be a great party with the best cuts of meat and the best wine and wine on the lees. That doesn't mean grape juice, silly. And there will be unparalleled rejoicing to accompany the announcement of the reign of God. So when Jesus comes announcing the reign of God, the time has come to celebrate. He refuses to allow his disciples to fast like the disciples of John the Baptist. No fasting. The day has come to call the banquet, to rejoice. And Jesus conveys the idea that in this end time period, the banquets have begun, and so he goes around eating and drinking, calling banquets and eating and fellowshipping and rejoicing in this salvation with the sinners, with the poor, with the oppressed, with the outcasts, the tax collectors. And he said, why? He said, soon Abraham, Isaac and Jacob themselves are going to join this party. It's like, you know, in Washington D.C. in the week of the presidential inauguration, what happens? Before the final ball takes place, there's party making. Why, the whole city is in the spirit of celebration, isn't it? And there's partying all over the city of Washington. And it finally culminates in the great inaugural ball. Now, in the setting of Jesus, the final consummation when Abraham, Isaac and Jacob are going to be there to join the fun. Well, that hasn't quite arrived, but it's pretty close. And the celebration and the music and the rejoicing and the eating and the drinking and the Son of God there, yes, the great representative of God, he is there. And with him, surprise of all the wrong kind of people. And Jesus is the life of the party. He's a great storyteller. He doesn't Bible bash them. And you can hear the party may be quite boisterous. And some critic says, hey, what's going on here with this teacher? he's a wine drinker and some kind of gourmet. And some, of course, there were spies and gate crashers and maybe listening at the keyhole. And many of these folk never found anything to laugh and rejoice about. In fact, their faces were longer and longer. Invite them to God's end-time salvation and to tell them that it's their good fortune to sit down with Abraham, Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of God. The Spirit of Jesus, who comes as the eating and the drinking man, not to be an ascetic, to hive off from the human race, with a little group of people to be the elect remnant out there in the desert, separated from everybody else, with the spirit of eliteness, but an amazing Catholicity of Jesus to join the human race.